Johnny Sig, Kevin Perry. We got a special guest today. Kali Reis. Oh my God. One of the best fighters on planet Earth just gave forth an amazing, tremendous performance on Friday night. I can't wait to unpack it. Kevin, let's get right to it.
Yes, sir.
Kali, first of all, congratulations on what is probably one of the most amazing fights I've seen in a long time. We're going to unpack that. And also congratulations on you're getting married on Saturday.
I am getting married on Saturday.
Congratulations.
I'm in the middle of chaos right now. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for being on our show. Amazing fighter. I remember you. My earliest or first memory of you is from HBO. The first women's championship fight, I believe, on HBO against Cecilia Brækhus.
Yep.
Actually, before we go into that, can you just introduce yourself to the world here?
So Cha, which means hey, or what cheer, which means greeting. Greetings. Natasuis Mikonanog, Nutamasi Konkan Wapanaak, Nutamas Nipmunk, Nutamas Cherokee, Nutamas Cape Verde, Natai Providence, Rhode Island. Hello and greetings, everybody. I am Kali Ko Mikonanog Reis. My given name, Mikonanog, means many feathers or many talents. I am from the Sikonke Wampanoag people, also have lineage from the Nipmunk and Cherokee tribes, as well as Cape Verde Islands. And I am originally from Providence, Rhode Island, talking to you from the mean streets of South Philly.
Right on.
Philadelphia got that good food.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Got that good food.
Yeah, I could see there. You were in a little bit of a fight this last week. Can you go into that real quick?
You should see the other guy. You know what I'm saying? I win this proudly, man. I'm not one of those fighters that is naive. I'm not one of those fighters that ain't real. I'm not one of those fighters that don't say I got banged up. I was glaring at right hands all fucking night, so I got a black eye. That happens, you know what I mean?
You and Jessica Camara went really, really hard. I was watching that fight, and you know I love you. So it's like I watch it, and I'm like, oh, man, this is like one of my friends. This is someone I really care about in a firefight. And you guys both made adjustments. Like you and Jessica both made adjustments throughout the entire fight. And to be honest with you, I refer to this as like the Gotti word of I don't even want to use the word women's boxing. I want to use the word boxing. Like that might be the fight of the year for me. Like, so I'm not exaggerating. You both put a lot into that. What was that fight like for you?
Man, it was just being there at this time during this crazy time in boxing. This whole month of boxing, men's and women's, is crazy. And then to be in this pinnacle of women's boxing, having such a transition right now, and to be 13 years plus in the game, at age 35, fighting for unified world titles in a weight class that it's only my third fight. Man, it felt so good to be in that fight. And going forward, we had game plans. We knew we were going to be in a firefight. We knew it was going to be a war. I wanted to have fun. I was fighting close to my hometown during Native American Heritage Month, with my boy Boo Boo on the same card as a childhood friend, represent Cape Verde and East Providence, Rhode Island out there. So it was amazing. Now, health-wise, I was battling some things, but I was going to die in there. And I mean that with all seriousness. I was going to die in there before I quit. So I knew that women's boxing would win that night, and I did enough at the end to come out the victor. If I could cut the belt in half and give half to Jessica, I would, because she's a good friend of mine, and we were joking around that we were going to have joint custody of the belt. But, hats off to her. It takes two to tango. I never disrespect my opponent as far as that regard, and I know that we brought the heat. I mean, that fight, like looking back at it, it was like I've never taken so many hits in a fight, to be clean hits and come back, and then to really have to dig down in those championship rounds. We said experience at the end of the day. We have plan A, B, C, D, but at the end of the day, F means fuck it fight, and I have the fuck it fight. And I just said, you know what, these championship rounds, Brian even gave me some corny ass Teddy Atlas motivational speaking in the corner. So it was awesome, but I'm proud. You know what I mean? Controversy as far as who won, but I know that I did enough, literally like 9 punches enough to get the win. It was so close. I wasn't like, oh no, I gotta dominate and win. I'm the champ. I'm like, yo, by the skin of an ant's ass, I won that fight, but I did enough. You know what I mean? And it was a great fight, entertainment wise, spectator wise. The fact that everybody in the crowd was like, yo, I've never watched women's boxing. That was a great fight. That's what I like to hear as a boxer. No one likes being in those wars, but I do for the fans, man. You know, I don't like getting hit, but if I gotta rock this black eye to, you know, catapult women's boxing and get paid more, get more women's fights on because everybody loves it and wants to see it, dude, I'll take it. Let's go.
Yeah, and just to add there, I've kind of seen in the last like few weeks there was another fight. I don't know if you saw it, Michaela Mayer and this French girl. I mean, that was a brawl. Women's boxing has really been just on the up and up, and it's getting a lot of attention. And it's great that you're a part of that. So actually, what was it like fighting somebody that you're close to as a friend, somebody that I'm assuming you've maybe sparred with, or somebody that you've known from the amateurs? Was it difficult to fight somebody like that, or it's basically just business as usual?
It's business as usual, and I hadn't had the pleasure to spar with her, but I've known Jess for some time now, and I actually commentated her last 2 fights. And I actually witnessed the progression, you know, from the St. Ville fight to the Heather Hardy fight. And, you know, she's also a fighter that is managed by Split T, is promoted by DeBell Entertainment, and is managed personally by Brian Cohen. And, you know, just as far as, you know, we don't live next to each other, we don't speak every day, but I consider her a friend, and she's a sweetheart of a person and an amazing human being and an excellent fighter. And she's a hungry fighter. And I know she's going to make her mark even harder in women's boxing. And I was just pleasantly surprised of how well she handled everything, as far as, you know, because the Matchroom and DAZN does production wise crazy. You know what I mean? It's a whole different level. It's not just throwing punches. It's the whole fight week. It's how you present yourself. It's a whole vibe, not to get corny, but, you know, I've always said that her composure and how she holds herself in general amazes me. And I'm real proud of her for rocking out, you know what I'm saying? And banging out with me, because that was dope. And I wouldn't have wanted to have a Gotti Ward fight with anybody else. You know what I mean? So it's not hard. The bell rings. We tried to beat shit out of each other. And, you know, I said, I want to beat the shit out of her. Yeah. She said, fuck it.
That's the name of the game, right?
So it was like, yo, we'll just beat the shit out of each other.
This is why you're my favorite, one of my favorite fighters on planet Earth. And Kevin's right. You gave, you know, the women's boxing industry a big, big push. DeBella Entertainment, Lou DeBella, has always been an advocate to trying to get the women out there and in the spotlight. People like you are out there doing that, and you're doing it in a tremendous fashion. Like, this wasn't just a fight for women or men. This is what boxing is supposed to be. Friday night, like you said, you're going to go out there, kick the shit out of each other, you know, but still love each other. Look at what you guys did right after. The two of you, when you were done with that fight, what's the first thing you did? Hug each other.
I held her because I was so tired.
Yes.
I was so tired. I just needed the arm wrestle. No, so no, I had to, because it was such a dogfight. And honestly, that last round, like, she was out. I had her out. And there was a weird stoppage that the ref did. I still am confused about that, but I had her out. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do, but I just had to embrace her because, we just beat the dog shit out of each other for 10 rounds. Come here. Like, you realize what we just did. It's not what I just did. It's not what you did. We just did. You came and you performed. I wanted her best. I wanted her A game. Now, if I ever fight her again, I want even better. You know what I mean? I don't want to take any side role. I never had anything given to me. I don't want to take any cheat codes or nothing like that. I want your best. I want your best.
You came out in the 10th round of that fight on Friday. Let's unpack this bad boy. But I'm going to start with the 10th round, because you came out like a house on fire. That fight was extremely close, as we all know. And you went out there and you just went guns blazing, and you hurt her quick. And I'm like, oh, man. And you showed no mercy. There was no mercy in this dojo.
Strike hard, strike fast. No mercy.
Exactly. And you went in there, you went hard. And I was like, I called my wife. She was at work. I'm like, oh, my God, this is like one of the best fights I've seen all year. This was so good. And she's like, your girl win? I'm like, yeah, I think she got it. It was a very close fight. Going into that fight, like looking at rounds 1 through 10, you both had like ebb and flow. What were like some of the adjustments that you had to make? You talk about like some Teddy Atlas type, inspirational stuff. I know you are very tough and very strong mentally and all that, and you both put a lot into that. So what were some of the things that made you get to that finish line?
Like I said, physically, I had some things I was dealing with. Even, everybody could kind of tell that something was going on, but the game plan is the game plan. So there was adjustments I had to make, going a different way, using my jab, digging to the body, bringing my hands back to my face, which clearly I didn't do much. Just, you know what I mean? And then just really overpowering, using my experience. But I knew in the middle rounds, because of how I was feeling physically, that if I was going to take rounds off, or I was going to do less, or try to just not survive, but just to do less, it had to be in those middle rounds. And I knew that 8 rounds, 8, 9, and 10, especially 10, because they were so close, I had to pull something out of a different realm. Like, it was a full super eclipse moon on Friday night. And I swear to you, I had to go to a whole different realm. I've never dug so deep and so hard to pull that out of God knows where. I'm supported and protected by so many ancestors. And I had a little speech by Brian Cohen, my future husband. And he had Cliff Note. Y'all can laugh now, but this is hilarious. He had asked me before I fought, there's a native word, is Ayutash. It means stand strong. And for my lineage, where I'm from, Anawan is a war chief. Won't give you too much of a history lesson, but he's a war chief. That was a war chief to a great leader called Massasoit Osamikon, and that's where I'm from. So he used to say Ayutash before every battle. It means stand strong. So he asked me before the fight, and he's like, "What do you say? What's on the back of your neck?" I said, "Ayutash." Why? He said, "What does it mean?" I said, "Stand strong." You know that. He's like, "All right, this motherfucker put this shit on a little piece of tape and put it in his pocket, right?" I didn't know that. I didn't know anything. So he must have studied it, because he's like, "Okay, you got native blood in your line, right? Why do you fight? You want to stand strong, right? You want to stand strong?" Ayutai, he's giving me this Ted. I thought he was gonna pick up the phone and call my dog or something. And then he's like, "Now give me a war cry." I'm like, I could barely punch the last 2 rounds. You want me to war cry? This is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at him like, bro. He's like, "Come on." I was like, he said, "Do it again. Let me hear you." He was just trying to get me motivated. And that's kind of the last bit I needed to really just go out there and fuck a skill. Just fight, fight. And I even, my mouthpiece has MMIW on it, just to remind me of one of the very many reasons why I fight. There could have been, a young, not even girl, young teen or young person getting snatched up and stuffed into a van when I was fighting. I fight for them. I fight for the ones who can't fight. And when I need that extra little push, those little reminders help me. So after that, it was just like a fire lit under me. And I was like, yo, by any means necessary, my Malcolm X style, I'm going to get this job done. I'm going to stop her. I got to stop her because it's way too close. You know what I mean? And those last 2 rounds, I just went to work.
I saw that, and that's why I mentioned that question, is that I saw that you came out and I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, you were like galvanized. I'm like, something spiritual or something happened there, and I was so impressed. And I was like, all right, she got this now. She got this now. And I saw Jessica start to break down. I saw her fatigue. I saw her legs getting really rubbery. And I was like, oh my God, she's got this. My girl's going to take this. And just a great, great war. Tremendous fight. Congratulations on Friday. You mentioned
congratulations. Yes.
So
that was a unification fight. So can you just let everybody know what belts do you hold now at 140 pounds?
I got this one at 140. It's the IBO.
Beautiful.
I got the WBA. And then hold on, I'll bust out the last one, the most important.
Oh, let's get it. Let's get it.
Right on.
And I got this one's very special because I've been chasing this belt for a long time. This is their new style of the belt. This is the first
Oh
one.
My God.
This is the WBO.
When my wife sees that, she's going to go nuts. She's all about the pink. Let me see that thing. Oh my
Let me show you the case, man. The case is sick. It's pink. I don't even like pink, but I'll take it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's badass.
I got those 3, and that fight was historic. It's just between me and Jessica fighting, the history with us, just like you said, the track of Michaela Mayer fighting with Hamadouche. That was a crazy fight. Alicia Baumgardner pulling a huge upset. Shout out to Alicia, Team Empire, baby.
That was a terrific knockout. That was on DAZN as well, correct?
Yeah. Yes, and she was there. She was commentating. So that was a huge knockout. They say women don't have knockouts. Excuse me? Women don't have good fights. Michaela Mayer and Hamadouche, me and Jess, it's awesome to have consecutive good fights to kind of prove them wrong. We don't need too many rounds. We just need 2 more rounds.
And I just wanted to add there, and this is kind of similar. What I kind of see happening is in women's boxing is you're starting to get the top fighters fighting each other, and that's what's making for the good fights. And I think in men's boxing, it's the same way. When you get 2 fighters that are about on the same level, normally, you get a really good fight regardless of styles. And I'm kind of seeing the talent level increasing, over the last few years. How do you feel about that? And actually, just to bring up, you haven't lost in the last 3 years. Your last loss was to Cecilia Brækhus, and since then you've been on a pretty long win streak. What do you attribute that to?
The Cecilia Brækhus fight was a loss but a win, just like the fight with me for Jessica is a loss but it's a win. It's almost like,
well, you put her on her backside too in that fight.
I did, man. I did. And it was a fight where I realized that, I say this a lot lately, that I was supposed to be in the top elite fighters. I was supposed to be there. I'm actually as good as some may think I am, and actually how I should know I am, not being cocky and full of myself. But for a long time, I didn't, it has to do with being generational genocide, just being passed down, but just didn't think I was good enough for anything. Wasn't enough native enough, wasn't Cape Verdean enough, wasn't a good enough fighter. So I didn't really, not that I didn't try hard, but I just felt like if I got too good, I wasn't worthy of it. You know what I mean? So that was something that I battled with early on in my boxing career and life. So when I, trained hard, that was the first time I had an actual training camp. I went away. I came to Philly and had an actual 2-month training camp where all I had to focus on was just boxing. And that was great. I had an actual team and coaches that were paying attention to just me. I was the priority, not if I'm in the gym, I'll give you pads kind of a thing. I love my family back home in Rhode Island. They took care of me. They've known me since I was a kid. I call my dad, Roland Estrada, Peter Manfredo Sr. They took care of me. But, I came up in a time where there was the Jason Estradas, Matt Godfrey's, and everybody was currently in their pro game. So I wasn't priority. So that was the difference when I was in camp for the Cecilia Brækhus fight. And again, Brian Cohen with his motivational speeches, there was a lot of discrepancies to that fight. I know we talked about that last show, but going into that fight, having the glove change and all this other stuff, it took me a couple of rounds to kind of get warmed up. But once I did, going into that 5th round, Brian hopped in. He's like, yo, you're supposed to be here. Yo, wake up. And I woke up and, I did exactly what I came to do. And I put my name on the map. And I feel like that was kind of a revamp for my already extensive career. By 2018, I was already pro for 10 years. That's kind of on your way, okay, we're going to take a couple of fights and retire kind of a thing, especially how my career has been like this, loss, win, or a lot of losses against people in their home countries. But I've been doing this without a manager, without promoter, different trainers in my corner at times, and kind of just taking fighting at 160 where I should have probably been fighting at 47, 40 my entire career. So that is the difference. And from there, we built confidence in myself. I worked on myself, and I'm still working on myself. You know what I mean? But from there, that's the difference. And I had a team that really believed in me, starting with Brian Cohen. We started working together in 2016, and just having a lot of trust in him and being real with myself. That's one thing. A lot of fighters, if you can take anything from this whole me yapping on, be real with yourself. Be real. Look in the mirror. If you ain't real with everybody else, be real with yourself. If you go around and you just talking you can fake it till you make it, but you got to realize where you're at right now. You got to, be real. I want to be this much, but you're still right here. So chill, be real. Humble yourself. I know you want to be there and you can fake it till you make it, but you can't fake it to get your ass knocked out. You know what I mean?
I love that quote. Yeah. You can't fake it till you make it. And you definitely don't fake it. I mean, the the bottom line is the way you came into the fight too, paying homage to your heritage. I thought that was a nice look, really cool ring entrance.
Thank you.
Very, very awesome. Everything was inspiring about what you did on Friday night. Your corner came together. You came together. Your opponent, also showed up, and there was just something beautiful about the craziness of boxing, and that's where it's at its best. Like, you guys brought the beauty out of like the carnage. Like, that is hard to do, and make it like where you're so compelled and motivated. It was like watching like a Rocky movie. Like, I'm sure you've watched the fight again. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, oh my God.
Honestly, I haven't watched it yet because I need to sit down and like I just lived it. You know what I mean? I just lived it.
Yeah, you lived it. Yeah.
There was so much. There's so much. And again, because I'm a friend of Jessica's, for both of us, I'm just like, I need a minute because this has been a lot since like May. I've been just doing nothing but training myself, Ebony fighting here, title fights, all that, commentating, like it's just been crazy. So I haven't watched it yet because I lived it and that shit was fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So
so you had obviously a very tough fight and opponent this last Friday. Who was your toughest opponent in your boxing career? Do you have one, or is there certain styles that give you a lot of problems? Or
I would say toughest, not hardest, but the most annoying fight I usually answer this question the same way, but the most annoying fight was with Ashley Curry. She's a southpaw and she just doesn't know how to fight. You ever fight you ever try to catch a hose that you didn't know you turned on? And you try to exactly what it is, because like somebody doesn't know how to fight. Sometimes as fighters, we get lulled into fighting at somebody's level, like athleticism or boxing skill level. She just can't fight. She can't fight at all, but she can do this shit. And it's just so weird and awkward. So if somebody's awkward and can't really fight, it's
like an unconventional fighter instead.
She runs. It was so annoying and it was boring because that was probably the most annoying. I was like, what the fuck? I just want to knock her out. Can we just get all right? Yeah, great. I won. Let's go. I was so like over it.
So that one obviously sticks out in your mind. Who is I guess like the best opponent you think that you face as far as just the toughest challenge, I guess you could say. I mean, obviously the other girl was a challenge, but maybe somebody in a different manner that challenged you. I
would say Cecilia, because she brought the best out of me. I like fighting those fights. Like, I'm looking forward, and I've been wanting to fight Chantel Cameron because of the caliber of fight that she brings. She fast feet, fast hands, hits hard, can box. She doesn't run. She can go backwards, forwards. Like, it just brings a lot out of me. So you're a different fighter in front of different fighters. You know what I mean? Early in my career, if somebody fought really slow and just, only like didn't throw a jab, like you get lulled into that. But being experienced and having a game plan, which is so important from your corner, and sticking to that no matter what. Like, for instance, I came out southpaw in the first round. There was a game plan to that. You know what I mean? I've been fighting southpaw, so we was trying it. You know what I mean? So sticking to your game plan and actually having the experience and the composure to actually listen and don't get caught up in everything else and not getting lulled into fighting somebody else's style. But I think Cecilia was my best fight. The hardest I got hit was probably Michaela Loren. I don't know what the fuck was in her gloves. I don't know what she but I don't know if it was because it was so late. It was like 2 a.m. and in Spain they reused the gloves. They were like oven mitts. I have no idea, but she hit me. My eye was like out to here by the 4th round. Number one, because they didn't allow the my corner person to work the corner last minute, and they had some Spanish guy work my corner.
That sounds like home cooking, huh?
Yeah, man. It was one of those. He didn't know what inswell meant. He didn't know what ice is. I was like, bruh, just anything here. So
it's like the Tokyo situation with Mike Tyson. They were putting like condoms on Mike Tyson's, like water blew up condoms.
Nice.
On Mike Tyson's eye. Like, what are they doing? Like, where's an inswell?
Yeah, no, that was horrible. Between that, I think she hit harder because it was so swollen. By the 4th round, it was like swollen shut. So yeah, those two stick out.
So I just want to add just one more thing real quick. So a lot has been made in women's boxing as far as there's 2-minute rounds in men's boxing. I'm sorry, there's 3-minute rounds in men's boxing and 2-minute rounds in women's boxing, and championship fights are 10 rounders. How do you feel about that? Do you think as far as women's boxing that it should go to the same as men's, having 12-round championship fights and 3-minute rounds, or what's your feelings on that?
So here's my thought process, and I had the help of this thought process when Lou DiBella, I love my promoter, he called me. He always calls me on some random stuff, but I always say if you go to work and they ask you to stay 8 extra hours and they say they're not going to pay you, you're going to stay? No. You know what I mean? I love boxing and I train 3-minute rounds and I spar men 3-minute rounds, 30-second rest. I would love to fight through, especially my style. I could use that extra minute. You know what I mean? But number one, they're not going to pay us like the men do. I don't know if they ever will, but I'm hoping that fights like with the one we just fought on Friday with Alicia, with Michaela Mayer and everybody else fighting, that the pay is getting better versus how I used to get paid, and just the entertainment value. Also, we're still having trouble getting on networks. So we don't see a full female card on DAZN yet. You know what I mean? Meaning if you see a bad male fight, 3-minute rounds, it sucks. I don't care if it's 4 rounds, it just sucks. But if you see a bad, and there's really, really bad female fights, it's only 2 minutes, it's less time. So we're more likely to get more female fights on networks. You know what I mean? Now, I do think that if you're fighting for an undisputed championship or a world title, you need to fight 12 rounds. You know what I mean? I think we should start with adding 2 more rounds at the end of those for world title fights. And then you'll see more knockouts. You'll see what you want to see. And then maybe you'll get even more fans because there's longer fights. And it would have a lot more respect from the average boxer and fan and spectator that only watches men's boxing and is just now getting to women's boxing, because it will be the same amount of rounds as the men do for the same titles. The time-wise, I'll stick to the 2 minutes until they start paying us 3-minute money. I think that's what we need to start, and that's what we need to stick to. I would love to fight 12 rounds. And again, I think my style would call for it, especially in the last 2.
I love your logic and your realism. And another thing I love about you is that, you're also a writer and now an actress. So I'd like to talk about some of the endeavors that you're getting into with acting. And I saw like a little tidbit of that. Like, how did you get involved in acting?
So this movie that is coming out actually in theaters February 11th. So look out for that. It's called Catch the Fair One. And back in 2017, director and now really good friend of mine, Joseph Kubota Vladika, slid in my DM on Instagram, and he kind of, said, I'm so-and-so, I've done whatever. I have this idea. Would you ever think about acting? And, as you can imagine, so many people still, I have this idea. I want you to be an actor, but nothing really comes of it. Oddly enough, as we're talking about, other realms and stuff, a week before that, I've always wanted to get into acting. I just didn't really know where to start. So I said, universe, if it's for me, it will find me. And a week later, he slid up in my DM. I talked to him for a minute. He came up to Rhode Island and he checked out. He's directed Narcos, Walking Dead. He had a movie out already. Very well known and very established TV director. And he had a script about a woman that loses somebody close to her. That's it. He had like a bone script. And he just had started learning more about missing and murdered Indigenous women, especially in the Canada area and the the Highway of Tears. So he wanted to kind of base it around that. When he saw what I was doing with my platform, just trying to bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women, he really wanted to connect with me. And fast forward all the way to when we made our premiere in Tribeca this year, I had a huge creative input on the way the story was told. He was very hypersensitive because he's, number one, not Indigenous, number two, not a woman. So my perspective and my story, he just really wanted a collaborative partner to write this story and tell the story the correct way. He sat down with some elders of my tribe. He wanted to know more about the Northeast Woodland tribes because, again, we don't even get a lot of representation. He wanted to know how it was being biracial, being Cape Verdean or Black and Native, because he's also biracial himself. So we kind of connected on that, having siblings. And from there, we just built a bond. And I had a hand in writing, helping him write. the ideas, the characters, the theme of the movie, even down to the colors. You know what I mean? I had a lot of creative control, and I appreciated that, especially telling an Indigenous or Native American story. We as Native people need to tell our stories. You know, it's healing, and you know, we have these people telling our stories and they're not the right way.
Yeah.
I know they're trying, but for him to approach me and ask and want to work with me to tell the story because he has the resources and the education and the, you know, he's a director and a writer, and kind of learn on my way. And I did exactly what I do with my boxing. I wanted to do the best job I could do possible. So I dug deep and I did what I could, and just wanted to be really convincing and tell the story from this character so the audience can feel the themes, like the rage, the sorrow, the sadness, sense of loss that is kind of a common theme within communities or people and our people that are forgotten, and tell the story the right way. And little did I know a DM on Instagram would lead to, you know, a theater premiere, an IFC film.
Congratulations.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Right on. Yeah.
Right on, 100%. Congratulations. Like I tell my wife all the time, everything I do in life is a metaphor for boxing. Like whenever I go to work, today's a fight. Like when you know, like, I go in there, that's exactly right. Like, I'm like, I got to make all 12 rounds. I got to get through all the bullshit. You know, when I do something with music, it's like everything is just like you got to finish. Like it's all about the
finish
and the passion. You got to finish, man. And you got me so fired up right now. And I know that you have an amazing brain and you're so intelligent. And so I cannot wait to see and hear your writing and see how you act on screen, because I know it's going to be amazing. Like you have this, like I told you from day one, with everything that you got going on. Like the minute I saw you for the first time, I'm like, this woman's got something. This person's got something. Like there's just a charisma to you. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today so much, because you just have this passion for life, and you're trying to do all the right things, and you do it the right way. And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
just do it. I think the difference between right and wrong a lot is just people do what they think is right instead of what's authentic to their true self. Yes. And you know, Hitler, everybody's eyes, he was wrong, but his brain, he was doing the right thing. And I'm not praising Hitler, but by any means, but he thought he was authentic. I gotta respect a man or a woman or a person who's authentic in their true self. He's a monster, but a serial killer, they're right. You know what I mean? And I think that's where we mess up. And stop worrying about what you think they think you should be. You know what I mean? Yeah. We all get caught up in it, and I do too. But at the end of the day, what is making me feel good? What is, you know what I mean? What is it making me feel good? What is making me smile? What is, my purpose? I love to give. I love to represent my people. I love to share information. I love to learn about other people's. I love sharing perspectives. I like to have a heated debate. You know what I mean? That's my true self. I don't want to be sitting behind a desk and be fucking miserable. You know what I mean? Just be a true self.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. So moving forward to boxing this past weekend, I want to know your thoughts, if you don't mind, about what happened with Crawford and Porter. Like you're expert, and I want to know.
Actually, I just wanted to ask you something just real quick. Do you watch because I know a lot of boxers don't actually watch boxing. Are you a big boxing fan? Do you watch every fight that comes on? Or
yes, I do. Unless I fall asleep, which I did, so I had to watch the highlights to this fight. I'm not even gonna front. I fell asleep. I was so tired. I fell asleep like 9:30 on my mom's shoulder. I was exhausted, but I love boxing. I love watching boxing. I watch old fights, new fights. I watch I love watching boxing. I'll go to the fight. I don't care what I look like. I just want to go to the fight. I will see the first fight because I want to be there on time. Because I want to see the fight. Wow. I love watching boxing. Yeah.
So thoughts on Crawford versus Porter? What occurred there? What were your thoughts on the outcome and the fight in general? Crawford
is just pound for pound one of the best. He is powerful. He can box. He sees red. He senses his senses. A lot of people don't talk about senses in boxing, but you can usually sense something. Like I sensed when Jess was like done. She wasn't done she kept coming, but I knew, I was like, all right, You can sense he has a really good sense.
Yeah,
like,
he's a good knack of like his instincts.
Yeah, very good.
I mean, he's the best instincts, I think, in the sport of boxing right now. I think
reflexes. I mean, he's smart. He's smart. And don't get me wrong, I am a Porter fan. I think I've answered, maybe not on your podcast, but if you could fight anybody, any guy, who'd you fight? Shawn Porter. Yo, he's a dog. I love him. Like, I love his heart. He's well-spoken. He's a good representative of the sport. He's a good commentator. He's just a fun guy, really good guy. And he's a dog of a fighter. I love those Gabe Rosados. I love those Shawn Porters. So I give him all the respect in the world. And I just think Crawford is just good God. He's like another Canelo in the fact where he's so well-rounded as far as he can do everything. Defense, offense, feet, move, punch, move, like everything. When you're well-rounded and you just keep getting better and better as a fighter, like a Crawford, like a Canelo, then he's just one of the best, you know.
Yeah, I got to agree. Terrence Crawford, he was very impressive as always. After about the midpoint of the first round, I knew what I was watching. I'm like, all right, he's already negating Shawn Porter. Like, he's already taken the linebacker aggressive style of Porter out of the equation. He's already making Shawn try to box, which is not really Shawn's best attribute. I love Shawn Porter. Like, I love Shawn Porter. I love his aggression. I love the way he goes after people and smothers people. Crawford's at next level. Like, he doesn't allow that shit to happen.
He's like a computer. I mean, he's just taking the data and he's just kind of putting it in the bank somewhere. And this,
gotta call him Neo or Morpheus. He's like the Morpheus.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. That's exactly
because even like if when he's losing rounds, even if he was losing rounds, he's under control. He stays relaxed. He doesn't panic. And I think that's probably like one of his best assets that Terrence Crawford has, in my opinion.
Did you guys notice what he actually did in Crawford against Porter in this fight? He actually backed Porter up the majority of the fight. That doesn't happen often. So there's some kind of like silent genius to that. Like, definitely Porter came in and pushed him and moved him around and tried to manhandle him. But Terrence Crawford kind of fought fire with fire and showed homeboy what time it was.
That's very smart. Like, I mean, if you got to look at too, like when I'm looking at fighters or who I'm going to fight or anybody, if I'm looking at, I just want to know how people will match up. I'll see how they fought and how, if they changed up how everybody else fought them. Like, for instance, when everybody fought Jess, they were just kind of boxing her and running and boxing and running and boxing. But you got to do something different a lot of times because, you know, people make adjustments. So his ability to take Porter out of his comfort zone, that's and to be active and to be a ring general. I don't think people understand what a ring general is. Doesn't mean you're throwing punches the whole 3 minutes or 2 minutes of the whole round. It means you're in control. Even if you're going backwards, even if you're moving, even if you're blocking shots or whatever, you're computing and kind of taking, like you said, taking little information, but you're still being active on it. You know what I mean? And he's just a genius at that. I admire any fighters like that. Even just even being on the ropes. I mean, even though you can be in a whole round and maybe throw 3 punches, but you're in control. You know what I mean? That's your round off. You know what I mean? And only real fighters would know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's a way you hold. People don't get taught how or when to hold. You know, they just try to hug you and they get caught. You know what I mean? There's a way to do things, and that's why it's called the sweet science. And that's why it's an art to me. I love it.
And this is why you're a master in your field and a champion of the world. I got a couple questions for you if you care about these fights coming up, Kev.
Yeah, actually, I want to just add real quick to that, John. We have this segment that we normally do, and it's called Does Kevin Care? Where John kind of asked me, do I care about certain things in the sport of boxing? We have you on the show, and we're calling this segment Does Kali Care? So, John, take us away with that.
Does Kaylee? You gotta say right.
I'm sorry. Does Kaylee care?
That's right. That's an important name. All right. Teofimo Lopez versus Cambosia. Do you care about this?
Hell yeah, dude. I'll be getting married, but I'm like, as long as we're done before the fight, we got to turn the fight on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a fellow team, split team member. So big ups for him. And not even just because of that, he's a beast. So I care, and I'll be watching. I don't care if we're in the middle of vows. I'll be like, no, sorry, gotta watch the fight. I don't care.
Dude, I love your passion for the sport. last week I was working, or what was it, 2 weeks ago during the Canelo fight, against Plant, and I couldn't watch the fight because I was bartending and waiting and stuff like that. But I knew when my kitchen started playing the Mexican music, I'm like, all right, I know who won.
Yep, there you go. We're going crazy.
I know who won immediately. Yep. And I'm like, I got to see this thing. And he looked great. All right, so we got another one. Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz.
Absolutely. I think Jojo Diaz is such a character, and I think Devin Haney is a problem, too. I like Devin Haney, even though I think Lopez will beat Devin Haney. I think that will be a good fight, but of course I care about that fight. That division is hot right now.
What do you think? Let me ask you a question here. What do you think is the best fight for the men's division? Like, say, 147. We had a lot of changes at the guard right now in terms of Porter retiring. We got Crawford, really at the top of the game. That's one of the most interesting weight classes still to this day. We have other very interesting scenarios with Canelo. Does he take on Benavidez? Beterbiev? What's the men's fight that you'd like to see?
Well, I heard Thurman trying to say that he would be ready for Crawford in 8 months. He needs to have a seat, number one. Thurman, come on, man. Keep Thurman for Crawford. No. Spence Crawford. Spence Crawford. I would love to see.
Actually, what did you think of Spence just charging out of the arena after Porter got knocked out? I mean, that was kind of a bad look to me. What did you think about that?
I mean, maybe he had to go home. I don't know, man. I don't know that man's life.
Hopefully he had an Uber.
Yeah, I mean.
Hopefully he Ubered home.
Today's society, nobody's safe. So it's like if you cough the wrong way, this shit's going to be a meme in like 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So he's in that division. He's a hot fighter right now. People want to see it. Maybe he just didn't, because sometimes you just don't want to deal with it. So maybe that's what it is. It is a bad look, but I don't know what's going through that man's head or that man's life. So I ain't going to judge him. I have no idea.
I think he's a wonderful fighter.
Right. Yeah.
I think Spence is an amazing talent. And, all jokes aside about things, memes and whatever, great athlete, tremendous ambassador for the sport. I mean, if you want to really look at boxing in its purest standpoint in terms of athleticism, skill set, I mean, Errol Spence is one of the best on the planet. There's no denying that. And let's also celebrate the fact that, yes, unfortunately, he did make a bad mistake one night. But how many people in life can make a bad mistake like that and then galvanize and rejuvenate themselves and look good and come back and box?
For his comeback and look the way he did, that's
insane
in itself. That's dope. You know what I mean? People want to bash him for mistakes. Like people hold celebrities and athletes at such a high pedestal, which is cool to have people to want to idolize it, but realize that people. I say we're humans. You know what I mean? That's why I find it healing and kind of it's gratifying to people that I'm so transparent. I just kind of know my audience. I can't go here on like if I want to pass this podcast and be dropping F-bombs, but you got to know your audience, and just be really transparent and just know who you are too. So, I mean, he made a mistake. Cool. He made a mistake, but he made up for that. And that comeback was serious. He could have just kind of continued to be, go on a down path.
Do you remember how like everyone's like looking at his teeth and being like, "Ooh, is his teeth good? How's his grill?" Like everyone's like watching him.
Well, everybody, professional athletes and boxers in general are always everything is under a microscope, especially nowadays with social media and everything, and you kind of somewhat are walking on eggshells. But like you're saying, if you're true to yourself, I think that's the most important thing. And everybody learns, from their mistakes, and you move forward and you try to make the best of the decisions you make.
Right. And think about the pressure under the microscopic lens that he was under. Like the whole world's looking at this guy, especially in the boxing world, which is a very cruel universe. So
boxing's what I love. Retarded. Boxing. It's like the waiting room of hell. Jesus.
Yeah, and he's got to go out there and show like the world, like, hey, my teeth are good, and I'm still. Everyone remember, like when Terrence, when Earl Spence got all messed up, people were like, "What's he gonna look like? What's he gonna look like?" He actually didn't look too bad.
Yeah,
You know, like
what the car looked like. You know what I mean? He's just, you know, shit happens, yo, and it's how you
shit happens, man. Shit happens. But I tell you what happened with you on Friday night was an inspiration to the boxing world and the world in general. Women's fighting, men's fighting, combat sports in general. Like I was very, and I have an emotional connection to you. Like we were friends. We know each other very well. But a fight is a fight. And when I was watching that thing, I was like, this is something special. This is a fight of the year candidate. I'm telling you. Like when you go back, I know you were in the ring. I know you experienced it. But when you see it through the lens of the camera, you're going to be like, oh my God. And I highly recommend, just watching it and evaluating how amazing you really were. Like, especially like you had mentioned in the late rounds, something turned and you hit the switch and you went out there and you went balls to the wall. Like
I had nothing to lose, yo. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, I could have, should have. No, my arms were gonna fall. Literally, I seen like the little clip, and like my last couple of punches was just like, yo, I'm going to swing until I can't. Because a lot of times in my career too, I would hold back. Hold back for what? What am I saving it for? I'm saving it for this moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I used to get yelled at, and what do you don't hold your punches. Now I'm like, now I'm not gonna stop. Now I won't. You're gonna have to stop me from punching. So, I will. I want to enjoy it too. Like I lived it, and I'm still living it. I got a lot of things going on here, really good things. So I want to like sit down, analyze, and just enjoy the fight because I'm very analytical and very critical of myself. I'm like my biggest critic. So I'm gonna watch it probably like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But I want to enjoy it for like a spectator.
I want to say that you were absolutely great, and everything I saw was tremendous. The way you pivoted your shots off the hip, the back foot. Your maneuvering was excellent. You had a really good jab, and every single time that Jessica tried to come at you, I'm going to tell you my own standpoint of this fight to recap and bookend this thing, is that you had a jockeying for position, like you knew the way to move. It was really awesome to watch. So like you had a position of where you went on the decision right to left off of what Jessica was doing, and you would counter her and you hurt her and you hit her. And I was like, God damn, this fight. And then she would come back and do the same thing. I'm like, this is a master chess game. This isn't checkers. Like
no,
like,
we're like throwing checkers at each other.
but you all throwing bombs at the same time.
I know, man. It was bombs away, especially in that last round. I threw like 4 right hands in a row. I remember that distinct moment because I saw it and sensed it. I was like, if it don't broke, don't change it. If it don't broke, don't change it. I was like, fuck it. It's landing right now. It's the last round. I got her.
I remember like when I fought, you could tell like by someone's body temperature and heat or their smell or their sweat and like obviously blood and swelling and stuff. Did you gauge that in the 10th round that she was starting to like leak out like on all of those like, aforementioned things?
Yeah, it was almost like I said, composure was really good with her up until the 9th and 10th round. I could see her, sense her.
Yeah.
Physically, I could feel her energy just kind of like she did really good holding it and just it's almost like she let out a fart. Not literally, but like I could kind of see her start like just kind of deflating. And I was like, okay. So like it's hard to turn up on somebody who's like ready for it, if that makes sense. Like if I was to go all balls to the wall in like the 4th, 5th round, she was ready for it. I mean, she might have not got so deflated in the 9th and 10th where I just had to really sense it. In that experience, I've seen people in that kind of like look so many times, and then her face was battered to shit. I mean, I saw that her hand poor thing. I love it. I just talked to her not so long ago, but her hand's okay. But her eye was split open. Her nose was gushing blood. I had blood all over me. So for people, they can see the stats. I won by a thin margin. But then if you really want to look at somebody who won look at their face and look at the other person's face. That's not always a telltale sign, but if you don't know, sometimes I don't answer. You know what I mean? So
I like what you did in that last round is that when she was trying to smother you because she was very fatigued and hurt and the cut and all that kind of stuff, you just like pushed her off. You were like, nope. Here we go. And you put her at arm's length and you started slugging at her. I'm like, oh my God.
It was almost like, beating the kids and then, no, where you going? Get over here, kind of a thing. I was exhausted. We were both exhausted.
I know.
I had to use my experience and my size and just kind of really get in her head and kind of like, even not saying that I wanted to take as many shots, but I took a lot of shots and I was still like, nah, bro, I'm still here. Go ahead and keep throwing that left hook. I'm going to keep my head low like an idiot.
You were like Terminator. You just kept going.
I mean, she was trying to break me down with body shots. I had body shots for her. It was, like I said, I lived it and I can't wait to watch it. Yeah.
So one of the fights. So, do you see yourself staying at 140 pounds? Or are you going to chase some other fighters in some other weight classes, or where do you go from there?
I don't chase, bro. They come after me. No, sir. No, we have a plan. I mean, obviously, I'm scheduled to fight Chantel Cameron for the Undisputed. So, and again, having been part of this first style tournament like this for women is awesome.
So that fight's already been signed.
That fight's already been signed. So when we started the Road to Undisputed tournament, that was kind of like the bracket how we did it. And so I'm fighting Chantel Cameron from the Undisputed titles. When I don't know, I just know that's next. So that's what we're prepared for. And I think that's dope that we know that. You know what I mean? We already had a face off when I was exhaustedly holding my belt. Like, yeah, whatever, have a face off. But, I'm like, I'm going to post it, like, somebody caption this. What am I thinking right now? Because I was not thinking, yeah, bitch, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm like, can somebody hold these belts? I need water. It's so bad. I look pitiful. But I said this before about tournament style, too. There's no ducking. I can't go out and like, okay, I'm going to defend my belts for like 2 years against these Mexicans and just be happy. Dude, I signed up for this. I got these belts. I'm putting them immediately on the line. And I think that's a dope way to do this. Nobody can duck and we get to see really good fights. So I do have fights in my mind, maybe 2 or 3 more fights that I want. I don't know how the chips are gonna, how it's gonna unfold after this fight. We'll see. But right now my goal is to get the Undisputed Championship. So see you there.
Whatever you're gonna get involved in, like your passion and commitment to the game is second to none. And your charisma and everything that you bring to the table, like I was saying before, whether it's acting, boxing, which is not an act, that's real. That's not, I love WWE, but that's not, a boxing.
Guilty pleasure.
It's guilty pleasures, exactly. But
I actually, I admire your persistence, as a professional fighter, because just from like seeing some of your fights from back in the day and then seeing where you're at now. And I know in boxing, the glossy undefeated record is such a big deal. And I know you fought a lot of, world-class opposition in your career, and to see that you've unified the titles, and then, congrats on you for that. And then you're going to hopefully become the undisputed champion at 140 pounds. So just all these like different stepping stones and obstacles and stuff. And, it doesn't seem like it's really affected you. It just made you a better fighter. How do you feel about that? Just your career?
I would never change my career. Even when I was, 3 losses consecutively in the hole, like I would never change it, because I said this too going into this fight. I've been on the B side for a majority of my career. I've been getting the calls to be the opponent, to go in somebody else's home country. So that hunger that those made fighters that kind of get everything handed to them, they don't know what it's like to be hungry. Like a hungry poor kid that's rich now, and all the rich kids that just always been rich, you have no idea what it's like to feel those hunger pains. I will always have the hunger pains, and I always remember, I know what the other person on the other side is thinking. So now that I'm in a position, not that I'm a made fighter by any means, I'm self-made fighter, get it right. I've worked my way up to where I'm at, and nobody handed me anything. I fought literally almost to death to get where I'm at. So I will always have that hunger and that passion. I'll never lose sight of that. No matter who I'm fighting, no matter what it is, win, lose, or draw, I'm not going to go into a fight thinking it's my hometown, I'm the champ. Yes, everybody bow down to me. No, that bell rings. We had 2 people in that ring. I'm hungry. I want this fight. I'm going to give you everything I have, and I'll never lose sight of that. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of fighters, to be at this position. You know what I mean? This is a position, 13 years in the game, 35 years old, a 19-7 record. You don't see that fighting for an undisputed championship or be a 3-time unified world champion in a weight class that this is only my 3rd fight here, and I'm coming down from 160. So it's, I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm not cocky about it. I have a lot more confidence within myself. So you might catch me talking a little bit more shit than I usually do, but that's just me being real. You know what I mean? But I'm thankful to be here, and I'm not gonna get cocky about it or lose sight of the goal or just kind of be like, yeah, I'm here. No, I'm here. I fought 13 years to get here, so I'm not gonna waste it. You know what I mean?
You almost got me in tears. I think I am tearing a little bit. Like what you said right there is like some Eminem type shit. But it's not shit. It's quality, motivation, like inspiration, I should say, more than anything else. And that's what it takes to be a fighter. So anyone that's listening that wants to fight and they think they could go out there, like you have to have this mindset, a certain category. And, I got to say for you, you have been an absolute inspiration to many people, beyond myself. Obviously, I'm going to say millions. I mean, come on, what you've done, like, let's face facts. That was if not the fight of the year, what you just did on Friday. That thing was insane.
Thank you. I mean, this time in my career, I think you would expect like something different. Like I said, I don't really shed light on this. Like physically, I felt a little. There's other things going on, but hey, man, I did the best I could, and I put on a hell of a fight. You know what I mean? And to be here, to have a hell of an opponent like that, and even it's almost like boosting, like you said, boosting up women's boxing, building up. Jessica's stock just went up, my stock just went up, and kind of representing for the OGs in the sport too. I'm an OG. You know what I mean? I kind of call myself like the J. Cole of women's boxing because I'm, kind of a little old school. But I'm new school and I'm still relevant and I'm still spitting some hot shit. So I'm very relevant. I might not hear about me all the time in the mainstream, but
I definitely saw on Friday, the 3rd round. That's when you made the adjustment.
Word.
You warmed up and you got, not that the 1st round was bad, but when I started to see you use your strategy, you warmed up, and again, the way you move, I notice what you do, like, and I don't want to give any secrets away, but I saw certain things that you were doing to get your positioning and trajectory of shot. Like, I don't want to give your secrets away, but I was watching it, and it was very successful, and it changed the fight. And I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about.
No, I know. I know. We've been working, man. I've been working so hard, and I got,
I can tell. I can tell.
In the beginning of camp, I had a falling out with my ex-coach, Danny Davis. I'm putting him all on blast because I really don't care right now. He decided to just leave for no explanation, and I thought it was really devastating because, I trusted him with my life. I built a relationship for like 4 years, and he just up and left and no explanation. And I would need another coach. Brian's my head coach, and he does everything, but we need another set of eyes, and he does a lot. So I got blessed with being coached by Rasheem Jefferson. I call him Rel, but he, in a short period of time, has become my coach, friend, and our family. Though that dude is so knowledgeable. He used to be a fighter himself, and he's a goof. He has such a big heart, but he has his boxing IQ is crazy. He sounds crazy because, unfortunately he got into a really bad accident, and he had a brain injury. So people sometimes can't get past how he sounds because he sounds like he's really punchy, but he's not. He's really smart, and I'm so glad that happened. Things usually happen for a reason, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was blessed to have that team in my corner.
Absolutely. And what's going on for Thanksgiving before we close out? What are you guys doing?
So my mom usually comes down for her husband is from Camden, New Jersey, and that's like a rock throw from where we're at. Usually Thanksgiving's mixed with me. My family, we usually used to get together to have, to celebrate family. But, as we call it, it's a national day of mourning. Recognize just, what really happened and why they were celebrating, massacring a mass of my people and my ancestors. So since I'm not close to home, we usually have a ceremony in Plymouth at the Metacom statue in Plymouth, but I'm not there. So usually I hold a little ceremony for myself, and then we're just going to cook for myself, Brian, and my mom and her husband, and just kind of get ready for Saturday, because then we get hitched on Saturday.
All right, congratulations. What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
I gotta say, my mom's sweet potatoes, man. Them Johns be smacking. Yeah, the sweet potatoes. Yep.
You have to worry about making weight right now, so you can just stuff yourself, right?
Nah, man, and I'm
back in the gym.
No, well, actually, no. I don't really have to. I don't crave bad food, so I think I deserve a little bit. I just love food, so but I can't stay away from the gym. I'll probably be at the gym.
What's your favorite thing outside of Thanksgiving to eat? I eat everything. I'm a hamburger guy. I'm a steak guy. I eat way too much red meat. What about you? What do you eat?
I just love, again, I love food, but I am the snack monster. I always have snacks around. And what is my favorite thing? I love pho. Even though pho is not bad, like, for you, I love pho. Right. Like, I'll eat pho every day. But I'm craving fry bread right now. I haven't had fry bread.
What about snacks? Like, what's your go-to?
Chips is my guilty pleasure.
That's my.
I love chips, yo. Chips, anything crunchy. I will eat the fuck out of some chips. I don't care. I have to.
I'll tell you what. Wise onion rings, and we don't have them out here because I live in Vegas. I'm originally from the East Coast in New Jersey. Wise onion rings. Oh.
Never heard of those, John.
Oh,
well, I'm from Los Angeles, but we both live in Vegas. Yeah.
Dude, Wise chips is like next level.
The one in the green bag, right?
Yep, the one in the green bag.
Got like Funyuns.
Those are different.
That's like Funyuns, kind of.
No, don't you dare ever disrespect a Wise onion ring with the Funyun craps, man. But the Wise onion rings, my friend, they will give you high cholesterol.
Oh yeah, my cholesterol is high. That's one of the things I got to work with. But I tell you what, you're right. You could never. People compare them like the onion rings, the Funyuns versus Wise. It's no comparison.
No. It's like trying to compare Domino's to like give local pizza joint. It's just not, it's not.
Yeah. Exactly. No. 100. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you.
As always, you are absolutely wonderful.
How can people contact you? Can you let everybody know how you can get in contact with you, your social media and your different platforms you got?
Sure. So I still have a Facebook. It's KO/Kali, Kali Reis, Reis. I have a fan page there. I usually keep people updated. It's more kid and elder friendly. And then on my Instagram, I'm pretty active, KO_NDNBXR. And then on Twitter, I'm a loose cannon because I give no fucks on Twitter, so discretion. It's KO Reis 86, and I say what I want, do what I want. So there's levels, I keep the fan page for the elders and especially Native country and the kids that follow me. I have also a personal Facebook, but I'm pretty active on Instagram. It's kind of a mix, I share a lot of stuff as far as what I do with my platform, bringing awareness to a lot of indigenous issues. Share a lot of stuff in my story, keep people updated with what's going on with me, with the film, with boxing, with commentating, with everything. And then Twitter, I just who want it because I'm gonna talk junk. So catch me on either one of those social media platforms.
You're amazing. The show will be up within the next hour on iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, YouTube, all that great stuff. Okay. And you're great. I cannot thank you.
Yeah, this is excellent. I mean, I got to give you a round of applause.
Like, you're just amazing.
Thank you, man. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. I love sitting there talking shit with y'all. Anytime. The first interview I've done since the fight. It's been so crazy. So I haven't really been doing any because, like I said, I have so much to do for the Saturday. But I couldn't pass it up a chance to sit down and talk with y'all. So. My pleasure.
I appreciate your time. You're wonderful, and you're a blessing to the world and the sport of boxing, and just in general. And have a great ceremony on Saturday. Congratulations. I'm so
Thank
happy
you.
for you, and I know how much that means to you.
Thank
You just won an amazing fight in an incredible war, and then you get married a week later.
Yep, with a black eye. Yep.
Black eye.
Word. I'm ready for it, man.
I know you are. Thank you so much. We love you.
Bye. Have a good night.
All right. Appreciate you.
No problem.
See you next.